Harry Potter is the thing that always does the best, and the thing that I know the best, so it's easier for me to make stuff about. It was completely unregulated, like cryptocurrency is now, and NFTs and stuff now, but for online content, you know what I mean? People were like messaging me like, I'll give you the $80 for it, I'll give you the... And then one guy was like, I'll give you $500.
I love that.
I was like... But in the early days, it was like the going rate was about $1 per 1,000 views was the RPM. So for every 1,000 views you'd get $1. For every million views you'd get $1,000 essentially.
Today, I am joined by a very special guest who is Brett. Brett, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I am a genius, playboy, philanthropist, billionaire, compulsive liar.
I love that. So many things. It's what sort of personality trait is that? Sigma or Alpha or
sort of sociopathic, I think. Thank you for having me, though. I'm very excited to be here, Martin.
I love that. So I'm just like fascinated by your journey, Brett, because I first met you. It was Comic-Con, wasn't it?
It was Comic-Con, yeah.
And you were dressed as Dobby? Or you had Dobby?
That tracks, yeah. I've done quite a few sort of cursed cosplays in my time.
Cursed cosplays. I think that you were sort of not like in a toga, but like in a robe or something. And Dobby was in your hand.
Yes, so I would have been, if Dobby was in my hand, I would have been dressed as Lucius Malfoy at that point.
Yes.
And then I did Dobby the following day. Which was just a really old bed sheet tied around me.
That was it. Yes, the old bed sheet. And then was it Dobby in your?
It would have been a sock. If it was while I was dressed as Dobby, I was holding a sock. But the day before, I'd been dressed as Lucius with the long blonde wig, and I would have been holding Dobby that time.
I love that. And where does Dobby come from again? Is it Doctor Who? Or?
It's all Harry Potter, all of that. So my Comic-Con thing is, the first one I went to, I was quite nervous about dressing up, so I didn't take a costume. And then actually, because everyone else was dressed up, I felt like the outside part.
You just went as yourself.
Yeah, and I felt like a spare part for not being dressed up. So I was like, I'm going to run out and buy myself the cheapest, quickest costume I can.
Yes.
So I put together Professor Trelawney from Harry Potter. I don't know how familiar with Harry Potter you are.
I watched it. Did someone like get told off for eating a pie or something in like one of the early Harry Potter episodes?
There's a potion in a cupcake that makes them fall asleep.
Yes. And I think that... And did Harry not get on with his brothers or something? Oh,
Harry's an orphan with... He doesn't get on with his cousin.
His cousin?
Yeah, his cousin bullies him.
Oh, that was it. Yes, I think I remember... Harry got bullied by the family or something.
Yes, exactly. Right. Very abusive household.
See, I watched Harry Potter. I'm really sure... I've not done my homework.
You're fine.
But I think I was like... It was like 20 years ago I watched Harry Potter or something like that. So it's kind of Harry Potter kind of now your main...
yeah.
Or
I like to say nerd culture because I'll branch out into like Doctor Who and Star Wars and things like that. But Harry Potter is the thing that always does the best, and the thing that I know the best, so it's easier for me to make stuff about.
Yes.
That has inadvertently become my niche, I suppose.
Inadvertently become your niche, and kind of has where I'm kind of fascinated with you is like your journey, because you started YouTube videos like really young, or
really young, yeah,
really young, and then you kind of gone out. We'll kind of touch base on all of this, but
of course,
the kind of like the journey of travel. It's like that, and then you went into like digital marketing, and then kind of back into that. So, tell me, how old were you when you started making YouTube? Videos?
I was young, like either a young teenager or not even a teenager yet.
Okay,
like, this was the first phase, I feel like, of really self-creating digital content, like YouTube's first phase. So YouTube came out in 2005. I think I posted my first video in like 2006, maybe early 2007. So like, if you think about some of the most popular YouTubers like PewDiePie and Mr. like they hadn't even started on the platform at that point.
Yes.
So I'm doing terribly in terms of time and success on the scale.
You've not got the 50 million.
Not quite. No, we're not quite there. But I started then very young, like talking about all the things that matter to a young teenager, like, oh, I like this girl and she doesn't like me. How am I going to balance life and homework? Like
life, homework, and love.
Well, exactly.
That's just like a fascinating topic, because at that time you just think that is your life.
That's everything. Yeah, exactly. So I did that for a while, and then I stopped for a myriad of reasons, but mostly I got into a relationship with the girl I'm with now some 8-9 years ago, and I was really worried her family's first impression of me would be these terrible videos that I'd been making since I was like 12 or 13.
Oh, so you had started, but you had posted, you had made, because a lot of people make videos but never post them.
Yeah.
But you'd made videos, posted them.
Yeah, exactly. I made them, I posted them. I'd been lucky enough to be able to like travel a bunch with them. Like, I hadn't seen tons of success, but by the numbers of the times, like I'd done like, I think I had like 25,000 subscribers back then. So that was all right. Like nothing to scream about now, like with the numbers that you see. But
yes, I follow. I remember my early YouTube days. I had 100 subscribers.
Congratulations!
But I never made it past 89 subscribers. So
okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
I know.
After this podcast comes out, I'm sure you'll rocket past that.
I might be able to release the 100 subscribers. I don't even know if I still got the video.
Oh my gosh, please tell me that you do. I'd love to see that.
But that's interesting. I think kind of like everyone, if you don't mind me, how old are you now? You're mid-20s?
Like late 20s, yeah.
Late 20s. I'm 26. Mm-hmm. No, so I think it's kind of very much kind of our generation. It was like the early days of YouTube, and
yeah,
I remember just sort of making and uploading just like random.
That's it. Like a bunch of videos that I'd made were like, here's 100 things from my bedroom, and just jump cutting to me holding up 100 random items. Like, here's a book from school. Here's a pencil, here's a camera, do you know what I mean? And
yes.
But that was like a trend back then. In the early days, that was it. Like, and it was just loads of stuff like that, like low production value on like a £20 webcam on my laptop,
yes,
like in 480p.
I know that was before 480p. Do you
Maybe
remember
360,
when YouTube,
yeah.
It was 360, but then the internet was always bad, so you had to watch it in like 240.
Exactly.
And then to help you out, YouTube brought out 144. That was just, it was just basically pixels.
Nice, yes. I remember that. That was my heyday. Those were my finest hours when it was like filmed on a potato, so you couldn't even make my face out.
The comments were, did you film this on a microwave
exactly.
or on a potato? I love that. Okay, so you sort of you did these, and 25, 30,000, that's quite a lot. And with that, were you like posting every day? Because this was before anyone had figured YouTube out. Or like, had you even heard of the word algorithm?
No. So I remember a long time ago, YouTube changed how their homepage worked. So everything was chronological back then. So you'd subscribe to people, and the most recent video from anyone you were subscribed to would be top of your homepage. And then YouTube made a change where the homepage would have some recommendations on it.
Yes.
And your subscriptions wouldn't come chronologically. It would just be everyone you subscribed to in a random order. So that was, I guess, the early days of the algorithm.
Yes.
And people hated it. Absolutely despised it. And you still get a bit of it now. Like Twitter was the last to change from chronological, and there's still an element of chronology to it.
Okay.
But that you still get some blowback, and it's very reminiscent of like 2009 YouTube when that happened.
Yes. And just remind me, in 2009, that was, they changed it from who you subscribed to viral videos being at the top.
Well, no, oh gosh, right. So
sorry if I'm, yes.
No, so they actually had what was called featured back in like 2007, 2008, where YouTube would hand select certain videos and put them on the homepage, and that's if you like the Vlogbrothers, Hank and John Green.
Yes.
So they got featured. They made a video about the release of the Deathly Hallows, the last Harry Potter book. I'm coming full circle here, where Hank Green made a song about the Deathly Hallows, which is still ingrained in my head, by the way.
Yes.
And that was like their first featured video. So that's where they blew up from. And all of the early YouTubers basically saw success from being featured by YouTube, if you will.
Oh, so YouTube basically selected who to become kind of famous or who to kind of be
to spotlight, basically.
To spotlight, yes.
And I never got featured, so I'm still very upset about that. But that was it. And then eventually it went sort of algorithmic, and then they started introducing ads. And this was a time when YouTube, by the way, like YouTubers would be called like sellouts for releasing merch, for doing any kind of a brand deal, even if it was just like gifted stuff, so you weren't making any money.
Yes.
Like, and I mean, now everyone I feel like is like lifting each other up, like get your bag, like do what you need to do, be successful, love that for you. Back then it was like, you're a sellout, you've released a t-shirt, how dare you monetize this?
Yes.
So it was honestly like the wild, wild west. It was completely unregulated. Like I feel like it was like cryptocurrency is now and NFTs and stuff now, but for online content, you know what I mean?
Online content. I love that. I've just got a very quick question to touch on. Your 100 items in your bedroom.
Yes.
What was like the most like memorable item you had in your bedroom?
I've always had a thing where if people get rich, they buy loads of cars.
Yes.
Right. For me, it would either be watches or glasses. Like, I am obsessed with buying glasses.
As it glasses, you
Like, yeah.
not like mugs and saucers
No,
and
no.
glasses. Yes, okay.
Although,
nice
no,
champagne
like
glass.
eyeglasses. And so I think even back then I probably would have had like 6 or 7 pairs. So I think like 6 or 7 of the 100 things. It was a cheat, really. Like glasses should be one item, but it was like 10% of the video were different pairs of glasses.
Yeah, everyone's got to have a passion and a niche, and yours was just eyewear.
I know. I can't believe I've ended up in Harry Potter and not.
I was going to say, where's
glasses.
Specsavers? They'd be knocking on the door saying we want to do a collab.
They really should be.
Shout out Specsavers.
But yeah, that was it. And there was like, I mean, God, there were loads of like like people would write. There was this big trend called My Secrets, where people would write secrets on a bit of paper and hold them up to the camera with a backing track and stuff, like the confessing things or things they're worried about, whatever.
You've just jogged my memory. It's like where people would like hold and they'd like the sheet would drop down, or they'd like release.
Yeah, unroll paper or hold up a whiteboard or whatever of just like, I don't know, 10 secrets or things they were scared to say or whatever.
Yes.
And it was, you know, when you're like 14, that's so deep. You put like classical music over it. I think I made mine black and white. Like,
edgy.
Yeah,
My
no one's
word.
ever going to see this again. It's been private for so long. But yeah, that was early days YouTube. That was early days trends and stuff.
Yes.
And I would have stopped long before I sort of made a bunch of these, except that I found this like community of people, which is similar to, I guess, the community that we're part of on TikTok now, but just, you know, a decade or so earlier.
Just like the early, the OG club. Really?
Exactly, yeah. And some of them I'm still in touch with. Like I'm going to...
Really?
So there's this girl who's from New Mexico in the States.
Yep.
And I remember she, like, one of my early videos, she, like, commented on it, and she'd made videos as well, and she did the My Secrets thing. And like, from that, sort of, there were these other, like, people from Australia and from the States and from the UK, and we became this, like, little community.
Okay.
And we'd stay up into 3 a.m. Skyping each other, and became this little group. And, like, I'm going to... The girl from New Mexico, I'm going to her wedding next year. Like, we're still in touch. They're some of, like, my favourite people.
That's crazy.
Isn't it? I know.
That's crazy. And for you were probably going to school and with only a few hours sleep, but for them it was just like 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Exactly.
Just the time
exactly
difference.
Right. Yeah. You know, you're totally right. But it worked the other way as well, because I'd come home from school and they'd have stayed up till like 3 a.m. or whatever to talk to me at convenient times for me as well. So it was like, there was this group of us, and there was this website called OMG Pop, which unfortunately has shut down now.
OMG Pop, no, but that's a domain I'd love to own.
It was like flash games. So you'd play like golf, but with penguins. So you'd slide a penguin on ice to try it. And we would stay up on Skype and play that.
Mini game and things like
Exactly. Mini clip.
Exactly
like that.
Oh, snooker, online snooker. And that was like the days of like early Stranger Danger. It's like I'm playing snooker with a random man who I do not know, but we cannot. I think and it was like the pre-selected comments you could send. It was like, great, nice shot, close. And I can't remember like how you. And it was like if you like missed the shot and someone then commented close, that was like
really passive aggressive.
That's just like that's taken it. Or nice shot, and it's like, oh, we've got someone who's sarcastic.
I feel like I'm bringing up some trauma here, Martin.
It's just remembered like sitting on the bottom step on my laptop playing mini. And this was so suppressed.
I'm so sorry for bringing it up.
Brett, how dare you? So you kind of like you built up like this community, and did you like ever have the opportunity to? If they're all over the world, did you ever get like the opportunity to meet?
I did. I took some awful risks that I would never recommend anyone take to be able to... that sounds... does it sound more out there than it is?
Tell.
So, having spoken about the Vlogbrothers earlier, they started an event called VidCon, which is huge now.
Okay.
But at the time, it was this huge revolutionary thing. We had something in the UK called Summer in the City, which has now become Social in the City, which is like it's a big convention. But originally, it was just YouTubers sitting in the park.
Yes.
And it's obviously shot up. But anyway, VidCon comes along in the States, in Anaheim, in California.
Yep.
And I couldn't make like the first one, but the second one I really wanted to go to. And these friends that I'd made, we'd all basically sat at home on Skype during the first ever one, because none of us could go. And then the second one, people in the States were like, we're going to go to this.
We'll take the, yes.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, I have to meet these people.
I want to go.
Exactly, yeah. I was like, I've spent hours talking to these people online, like through the middle of the night. Like, I have to meet these people if I get the chance. So I bought the ticket to VidCon, which was like $80 or something.
Okay.
And I was like, I've got like 6 or 7 months to...
And how old are you at this point? 16, 17?
Yeah, like late teens.
A late teen. So you could sort of, you maybe like a part-time job or
Exactly,
something.
yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
yes.
Like I was still in high school, so still, it's not like I could work full time, like you say. But
That's-
I was like, I'm going to spend the rest of the year trying to save up for these flights to LA. And
when you're on like £5 an hour,
yeah,
or so.
exactly. When you got like a paper round, like, and you just
I'm
honestly
gonna have to live papers for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
to buy
honestly.
a plane ticket. Yeah.
Well, anyways, as a surprise to nobody, I didn't manage to save up enough money for the flights.
Damn.
So like a week before the event, I'm like advertising this ticket on a Facebook group. I'm like, I have a ticket to VidCon. It was like $80. I'll sell it for $80 if anyone wants one.
Probably all the tickets have sold out, or
Exactly
so there's actually
right.
like a market.
Yeah, it was a popular event. The tickets, I'm pretty sure, sold out. So people were like messaging me, like, I'll give you the $80 for it. I'll give you the And then one guy was like, I'll give you $500.
I love that.
I was like, why, dude? I'm offering it for 80. What's going on? So like, I'm this arrogant teenager, and I'm just like, you know what? Let's just chat to him and see. So I was like, why are you offering me so much money for it just out of interest?
What's the scam?
Yeah,
What's
like,
the catch?
Exactly. I'm probably going to give it to you for $500, but like, tell me why first.
I mean, I'm just impressed you didn't sell it for the first person who offered you $80.
Honestly, yeah, I was probably at school and missed the messages, honestly. But this guy's like $500, so I asked him why, and basically he owned a business, and he was like, I want to send one of my employees there to market my business to creators and other like businesses that are there.
Yes.
And so I'm just like, at this point, right, I have a really small audience, but an audience nonetheless.
Yes.
And so I just think the sun shines out of my backside, Martin, honestly.
Yeah, but
not much has changed.
Well, I mean, you've got to have like self-confidence.
Exactly, right.
Absolutely. It's like, I've got this.
Yeah.
I'm Brett.
And I thank you, I am Brett.
You are Brett.
I
own
had
it.
nothing to lose at this point. So I was like, look, why don't you send me instead of your employee? Like, I have an in with these creators anyway, so they'll listen to me talk about your business.
Yes, you're sort of in the circle. So
Exactly.
to say.
Yeah. Like, and I know what's important to them because I am them. And I was like, and it saves you $500. You don't have to buy the ticket. You just pay for my flight
So you
to
didn't
LA.
sell the ticket if you buy my ticket and send me.
Yeah.
You said don't pay for just pay for my plane ticket.
Exactly, because I'll use the ticket when I'm there.
Okay.
And I will like market the heck out of your business.
Yes.
And so he was like, here's my Skype, like give me some time to think about it, to talk to the other people in the business, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll chat in like 12 hours. So I just don't think about anything else for like 12 hours. I'm so nervous.
You're meant to be sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just like...
Overthinking what I want.
Exactly. And I'm like, well, I mean, is this dangerous? Some random guy on the internet, I'm a teenager. Should I even be giving him the option? But then I was like, you know what, like, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, that's it. What can I lose? And it's
Yeah.
like,
A lot, I guess.
my life, someone might clone me.
Yeah.
But why do you need that? Ignore those thoughts.
Exactly. So 12 hours pass and we get on Skype and he's like, you know what, I really like the idea. Like, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah. So by the way, my flight is like 36 hours later. So like I had a day and a half basically to convince my parents that this was okay.
Because you
I had
marketed
all this time.
it a week.
Yep.
Then have a chat. So you're like running out of time and
Exactly
probably the time
right.
to even sell the ticket. So if it doesn't go ahead,
Exactly right. So I have to convince my parents still. But he's like, what's your passport number? And I'm like, oh, is this guy going to traffic me?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah, but I was like, look, you can't even take out a credit card in my name because I was too young at this point. So I was like, what's he really going to do if he steals my identity, honestly?
I like you had that thought process. Because
Yeah.
I would have probably sent him a fake number.
Well, I sent him the real one because I wanted the flight and he needed it to book the tickets.
Yes.
So I said to my old man, I said to my dad, I was like, look, I know this sounds shady, but this guy who I've only met 12 hours ago is offering, on the internet, is offering to fly me to LA so I can go to this event that I've been saving up to go to. Can I go? And my dad was like, no, absolutely not. Of course not.
A shout out to your dad.
Yes.
He's a sensible man.
Exactly. Until I made my case and was like, look, I'm going to buy myself a coach to the airport. If the ticket's not real, I don't get on the plane, I get a coach home. I'm not going to interact with any strangers. If it is real, I fly to LA and my friends that I know that are already going to be there are going to pick me up at the airport.
Okay. And you'll just interact with strangers in a different country and you won't talk to strangers at the airport.
Yes, exactly.
In the UK, you'll just talk to them in America.
Yeah, but at this point, like I've video called with most of these people.
Yes,
like
yes.
the guy who bought the ticket wasn't at the event, so like I was going on behalf of that company. So I was, or at least that's what he said anyway. And so so he was like, okay, fine, but promise me you won't interact with strangers, and promise me if the flight isn't real, you'll come straight back home. So I did.
Okay.
And I went, the ticket was real. I went to LA, I marketed his business for him. I got him a ton of leads, had the best time, fell in love with LA, cemented these friendships of some of the most like important and meaningful connections I've had with people ever.
Yes.
And it was amazing. And I'm so glad I took that risk. That's not to say that other people should accept flights from strangers on the internet when they're teenagers, because that's very dangerous.
Disclaimer.
Very important disclaimer.
Okay, discllaimer. Okay.
But it worked out for me, man, and I'm so glad it did, because like I say, I've like these friendships now. Like I went to a wedding in 2019 of one of the people that I met out there. Going to another one next year. Like, it's just like they're some of the most wonderful people. And at the time, obviously in high school, a lot of your friends are like friends by proximity, right? They're just friends because you live close to them.
Yeah,
not
you
because
live
have
in the same village or town, or go to the same school. I completely understand.
But having introduced myself to this community online, it was like we're friends because we have stuff in common. We have shared passions, and it was just, I don't know, I feel like it was revolutionary to who I am as a person now to be able to do that. So
yes, kind of a good kind of fundamental. So you kind of get flown out there. You're making all these contacts. That's just that's kind of incredible. And kind of, where does the journey go for Brett from then? You do. There's just so much to unpack there.
There is, yeah. So I ride the wave for a while.
Okay, so you kind of carry on the social media.
Yeah, I get to travel Europe for some work.
Oh wow!
I spent a summer going around a bunch of countries in Europe. There's a great company called Busabout. Okay. Who do hop on, hop off bus services all around Europe, and so I did some work for them with some other creators that I met at that event that I got flown out to actually. So it all comes full circle.
That's incredible. So you were just basically, the company said, we've got a load of buses you can just get on and off.
Essentially for 3 months, yeah. And we made content for them to post.
Months.
Yeah. It was one of the best summers ever. It was amazing. So I'm riding this wave, and eventually, I forget what age I am, but eventually I go off to university.
Okay.
And around the same time, I meet my girlfriend, and I start, because people at high school weren't exactly nice, but they weren't exactly mean about the content, but
it was just sort of Brett that might say, I've watched your video or something.
Exactly.
And that's
and I was
about it.
I wasn't inherently popular at school, but I wasn't bullied either. So it was I was in this nice sweet spot where I was sort of friends with everybody, and so no one really said anything mean. But then going to university, it's not that people were mean, but I was inherently self-conscious about these things. And so I was I'm really worried these people's first impressions of me will be these videos that I've made, and my girlfriend and her family, that their first impression of me will be these videos that I made. So I was just I'm gonna not I got way too in my head about it.
Okay, you sort of just overplayed.
Exactly right. Yeah. So I stopped for a long time and basically finished university and got jobs on the brand side of things then, because I'd learned how to build a brand and to market my content. I worked with other brands, so I had all these skills that were transferable to the marketing side of it,
That's interesting, because you'd sort of almost kind of packaged yourself up, although you've stopped doing it. You're probably 18, 19, 20 at this?
So I'd finished uni, so yeah, early 20s at this point.
Early 20s, and you'd literally travelled the world. You'd lived a life.
Yeah, honestly, I'd peaked.
You peaked. You basically kind of created a profession, or what would you describe it? A business, or
I don't know, because I wasn't earning a killing doing it. This was the very early days of the YouTube Partner Program. I remember when that was released, and when I first qualified for it, being so excited. Their payment threshold was $60, so I remember my first $60 check, and it took me 4 months to accrue that much. Because this is going to get really jargon heavy for a moment, but now you have RPMs and CPMs, which is what you get paid per 1,000 views.
An RPM, what's RPM?
So a CPM is what an advertiser will pay for 1,000 views on content.
Okay.
And an RPM is what the creator will get for the 1,000 views, because obviously YouTube has to take a cut.
And CPM, that must have do you know what?
So it's cost per, it's
cost per minute, or
it's milli or something. So a millimeter.
Yes.
You need 1,000 of them for a meter.
Yes.
So even though a lot of people think milli is a million, it's 1,000, right? Same with millennium is 1,000 years.
Yes.
So cost per milli, so cost per 1,000 impressions is what CPM is.
Oh, okay. I follow.
If I want to advertise Martin's Plants here,
and
I post an ad on the front of a YouTube video, it's going to cost me a CPM, a cost per 1,000 views of say £3 or £5 or whatever.
Yes, okay, yes.
And then you get an RPM, which is after YouTube's cut what the creator takes from that.
Oh,
so the rate per milli.
So if I paid £3 to market Martin's Plant,
yep,
but then there's kind of a cut involved, then Brett, who's made the advert for you might get £1.50 or
yeah. So
50p.
it wouldn't be that I'm making the advert. I'm making the video that your ad is placed on by YouTube.
Oh,
so it's different from like a typical sponsorship where you as a business would approach me as a creator.
Yes,
it's that you've created an ad yourself and it's placed on my asset, essentially.
Yes.
So YouTube takes, I think they've always been really good. I think they always give more than half to the creator.
Very generous.
So, but in the early days, it was like the going rate was about $1 per 1,000 views was the RPM. So for every 1,000 views you'd get $1. For every million views you'd get $1,000 essentially.
Oh wow, okay.
And I was not getting close to 1 million views at this point. So it took me months to get to the $60 payout, which was a really long way around getting to that point.
Yes.
But just for the context. But now people are making, like, depending on what you're making videos about, people are getting RPMs of like $25, $30 per 1,000 views.
Wow.
So it's hugely scaled. And obviously there's been inflation with that, but also it's so competitive because back then people frowned on like online content, like, and I'm seeing a bit of a. I'm jumping all over the place. I'm so sorry.
No. Carry
It's
on.
like cyclical.
We're like kind of like almost kind of like explaining to people who aren't familiar with CPM or RPM or like adverts or brand deals and stuff. So you're giving actually a brilliant.
Okay, good.
A brilliant analogy.
Please pull me back if I go too far out.
We will. Well, we will. We'll wrap up this, but then we'll kind of move into like maybe kind of then what you did into university.
Of course.
So
Yeah,
we'll just
yeah.
wrap this little bit up.
Yeah. So I'm seeing a cycle now because I see a lot of like long form YouTube creators talking about short form creators
Okay.
in quite a dismissive way, like almost diminishing, like there's not as much value in it, it's not as worthy, your audience don't care as much about you. But back then, I was seeing broadcast media and traditional media say that about long form content.
Okay.
So there wasn't as much money in YouTube as there is now.
Yes.
Because people didn't buy into it as much, they didn't think there was as much value in it, but now they see the value in it. But short form is not making as much money. And long form creators are saying there's less value in it, but I think it's gonna come up and sort of do to YouTube what YouTube did to traditional media.
Oh,
if you will.
okay. Or can almost like dominate, or sort of just kind of that.
At least
Evolution,
work in tandem.
yes.
Yeah. So I don't exactly know where I was going with that point, but that's sort of the evolution of where it was back then when I sort of dropped it and went into the business side of things to sort of where it started and where it is now. And I'm sort of slap bang in the middle of it at this point.
Making videos when you were young, kind of getting flown out, VidCon, and then you kind of university, girlfriend, that's sort of kind of the end of that chapter.
Yeah.
And then kind of did university relate to kind of anything you did at?
Yeah, so I did like a literature and film degree.
Okay.
So loosely, like I was always like, I'm gonna move to LA because I'm in love with the place now and I have friends there. I'm gonna write movies, I'm gonna direct those movies.
Yes.
And nothing's gonna stop me, to the point where I was like, I'm not even gonna learn to drive because what's the point in learning to drive here when I'm just gonna move to LA and my license is
I'm
pointless.
just going to America.
Exactly, I'll learn out there.
Love that.
I moved to Stoke-on-Trent in the end.
Oh.
Which is slightly different to LA. It's like the LA of like the
of
Midlands.
England. I think anyone visiting England or the United or Europe.
Yeah.
I think Stoke-on-Trent because it's so easily accessible. It's junction 15 off the M6, A500.
Yeah. It's the first thing most people think of, actually.
That's it. I've stayed in 2 hotels in Stoke-on-Trent.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it was brilliant.
Oh, really?
I genuinely, one of them didn't have hot water.
Oh, gosh.
And I can't remember the second one. I think it was like a hotel, but I was in someone's it was like someone's loft.
Gosh.
And you've got like that lovely underpass you drive through the 50-mile-an-hour zone. Sorry, I'm just like
No,
I'm
don't be
sharing
sorry.
my love and passion for
I'm glad
Stoke-on-Trent.
that you do because I had a horrific time there. I hated it.
Oh,
So the job was great. So I took a job at a betting company as like a social media editor there.
oh,
and this
okay.
was amazing. Like I got to watch football and golf and all these sports and just tweet about them and make social content about them.
Oh.
And I loved it. It was like the perfect job. I just hated the place. Like I'm from Devon, so it's like 7 hours on the train to get to Stoke.
Yeah,
like
that's quite a long way.
And I just had some like, I went to an optician's appointment, and when I came back to my flat in Hanley city centre, there was a lady in just her pants in my doorway. And I was just like, I felt really uncomfortable. I was just like, oh, I'm really sorry. Like I'm apologising to her.
It's a very
I'm really sorry.
English
Can I
thing to
get
do.
to my door, please?
Excuse me, I don't want to be rude, but you're sort of in my house. Please, may I get in?
Yeah, exactly. So she, bless her, like, I mean, it absolutely isn't her fault. She obviously was living rough at that point, and she was using this because the entrance to my flat was off the high street.
Okay.
She was using it as somewhere to get changed.
Yes.
And so she was just like, she was obviously having a really tough time, but she was like, "Oh, I didn't know this was a flat." She was like, "Do you have any spare bedrooms?" And I was like, "I'm really sorry, like I don't like." And I also don't really know you. I'm so sorry for your circumstances. I really am, but I'm probably not going to be able to house you here.
Yes, that's it's just tricky. It's
really,
tricky.
yeah, of course it is. And don't get Stoke-on-Trent. I know. I sort of said I had a bad time there, but they've been really like they were screwed over in the 70s, and basically no government has ever really lifted them out of it.
Okay.
So it's absolutely not the fault of the city, but it isn't. It's far from home. There was a lot of rough things that happened there.
Yes.
I looked out of my flat window at one point and saw some people snorting some things off my wheelie bin. I just didn't feel comfortable there. Like it was just so I left basically.
Okay, so that was, you had like an introduction to like sports betting or like social media.
Yes.
But then you kind of quit the job and move.
Well, so I found another job back in Devon near my family, and as soon as I got a job, I moved back for it.
Okay.
Which is such a shame because, like I say, I absolutely adored that job. Like I'm a huge sports fan. Like most sports, I love.
Yes.
And I love social media, and I love like the business side of marketing. So all of those things coming together, I was like, this is just a bit of me. Like I love that. And then I got another job, and then just job after job in like social media, eventually working in an agency for 4 or 5 years, which sort of leads me up to basically where I am now.
Oh, okay.
This
and
agency.
That agency was that was to do with social media.
It was, yeah. It was a social media marketing agency, yeah.
And that's where I quite kind of find your story really fascinating, because you kind of up at this point you've done social media, but then you can almost kind of take a social media perspective to a agency. And was there like anything you could like transfer when could you find it tell me what you were doing at that
so
agency,
I was
like campaigns or adverts or
so it was sort of, it wasn't quite full service, but it was pretty close. So we would do in-house content creation for brands. We'd manage influencer campaigns. We'd do strategy and consultation. We'd do videography and photography. Like apart from doing live events, essentially it was basically full service. And I learned loads, but also like I came in reasonably senior. So there was my boss who owned the company, and then I was the number 2, and then I had a team of people looking after the accounts underneath me. So I was fairly senior.
Oh wow, okay.
And it was amazing. It was really great. I learned a lot. And the landscape changed a lot while I was there, because across like 4 or 5 years while I was at the agency, like TikTok wasn't a thing when I started, and then became a massive thing when I left last year. And so I feel like I learned a lot of like the business side of things. I worked with a lot of different brands, like a really eclectic range from like cheese and drink brands and like other fast-moving consumer goods.
Beverages. Kind of food beverages.
To like musicians and like sports companies like all sorts of things. We worked with like big music labels in Africa, like really eclectic group of stuff. So I feel like my skill set was really sort of diversified at that point.
Diversified. But what do you think you'd have done maybe as not maybe as well or however you kind of interpret it, kind of you'd managed kind of to package all your social media things up to...
I think I had a different sort of perspective on things, having been on the creator side of it. Like, and having been in that landscape for Lord knows how many years, seen the best and the worst of things, how things evolve, and how things also are cyclical and always come back around again. I was able to sort of offer those perspectives to the different brands and different campaigns.
So that must have been incredibly valuable.
I think so. Yeah, I think I took great pride. So I left that to become a full-time creator a year ago. And I took great pride in my career. Like I was so proud of everything that I'd done, and I didn't want to leave. I wanted to drop my days, but the agency just couldn't facilitate that, so we had to part ways. But I loved what I did. I absolutely adored it, and if I'd been able to drop my days, I think I'd still do it to now. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I follow, and that very much takes us to now. So now you're like a full-time content creator.
I am, yes. Full circle, right back to where I started.
It's full circle. It's like throughout your journey, you just sort of like obtained and acquired more information or like more perspectives and things.
I think so, yeah.
You took the perspective of your social media journey to the agency, but now would you say you've now taken the agency
absolutely
to your social media things? And would you say you're maybe kind of streetwise to the industry, or?
I think so.
Would you think there's kind of anything within the industry that kind of creators, would you think you've got an insight into the industry more so than kind of other creators, or like tactics, or
yeah, without being self-aggrandizing, I think so.
Yes,
I think because I've been around the block a time or two. I think so. A few things to unpack that. I think I'm a way better creative having worked on the business side of things as well, because I think, particularly speaking to brands and understanding brands, I have like the business
what
side of things. I know, about business KPIs, like key performance indicators, and how to talk to them about deliverables that are important to them.
Yes,
I think my first time around when I was like making YouTube stuff, I was like, I'll make this video, it's a fun idea. And now I'm like, you want this call to action to push this product, I think this will help it convert.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Talking to businesses about language they understand.
Yes.
Which sort of brings me to your other point about, I guess, having some know-how that other creators maybe wouldn't have. And that sort of it's just the business side of it. And again, I don't mean this to be patronizing, because I'm sure tons of creators do have the business know-how.
It is interesting. We've sort of like throwing like something in there. I've spoken to a lot of creators, but they all seem to sort of kind of. It's amazing. I kind of had a business in social, not so much made money from social media, but I use social media for kind of my businesses.
Oh, very cool.
And I did Christ. 10, 15 years I did that for, and kind of so that's kind of
amazing. What was the business, if you don't mind me asking?
It was using kind of Facebook groups to sell kind of parts for radio controlled model aircraft.
Oh, brilliant.
But kind of from that, it kind of created there was like lots of different trends I kind of weirdly I didn't mean to create these trends, but they kind of created. But then kind of I can very much kind of relate to meeting people for the first time who I'd met on the internet, or I'd be at an event and people would be recognizing me, and then kind of all of just kind of delivering with all of that, or kind of it's like weird people kind of taking your photos, or there was a whole craze of that I kind of gone through. So it's kind of all the time you're like navigating that journey, so to say. But kind of speaking to other, kind of on that journey, I kind of had to learn about kind of tax or VAT and deliverables or what not to post on social media or and stuff. But a lot of people now, or creators, it's like TikTok's that new boom. How long would you say TikTok's kind of been popular for? 3, 4, 5 years?
I think it really was catalyzed by lockdown. So from what, mid 2020?
Mid 20. So it's kind of
like it was a thing for long before that with Musical.ly, right? But I really think lockdown accelerated it, or at least that's my understanding of it.
Your understanding, I like that. So it's kind of 3 years. So you kind of got a lot of people now kind of who are inside for lockdown, and COVID kind of really the events really started kind of kicking off again, like summer 2022, really, or like 2022. So it's all still quite new, and all these people are suddenly kind of getting brand deals, but they don't know how to navigate tax, or you've got agencies kind of approaching people, and it's like how they even navigate that. You've got 100,000 followers, you've got 2 million TikTok followers. And you've got this brand or these things. It's like how you navigate.
It's so hard. It's so sticky, and I think there's so much to it, because it's like if you're new to it, if you've gone from just like making stuff in your bedroom, and it's suddenly popped off, and you, like you say, you have between 100,000 or 2 million, or what you're like, a brand comes to you, you don't know what to charge for it, what is appropriate for them to ask from you, when they pay you, what to do with that money, what you need to set aside for tax, how you're supposed to deal with that, like what the threshold for paying taxes on that sort of thing. There's so much, and you mention agencies, which I have quite I have strong views on like influencer agencies and influencer management, and it's born out of the very early days of that side of the industry.
Yes, I think that's interesting, because you kind of almost kind of summed it up. You've got like a brand, and maybe that's where agencies would get involved. You've got someone who's new, people approaching them, how much to charge, and all of this. So probably agencies, there's naturally a business there, and to facilitate that connection with people. So kind of based on your experiences with agencies, would you kind of, I say any horror stories, or kind of any advice, or what's there to sort of know about agencies?
Well, so there is absolutely some value to agencies, like with all those things we've talked about, because it is such a murky ground.
Yes, kind of that middleman almost connecting.
Exactly. Like I'm really fortunate to have had the journey I've been through to understand the business side of things to the extent that I do. And don't get me wrong, I don't understand everything. There's so much.
I follow.
And so agencies can plug that gap, so to speak. But agencies were sort of... Agencies as they are now are an evolution from what was once called MCNs, multi-channel networks.
Okay, multi-channel. And explain multi-channel.
MCN. So a multi-channel network, from the early days of YouTube,
Yep.
and I saw them come onto the scene and grow and become the worst things in the world.
Oh.
So YouTube starts the partner program, like I was telling you. You get like roughly $1 per 1,000 views.
That's it. You reach that $60 threshold. You can then kind of like monetize it, or like the YouTube partnership. You can make money from social media, in short.
Exactly right, but not every kind of content. So gaming content, which is so popular now,
it's massive.
You couldn't monetize that to begin with.
Oh wow!
But you weren't allowed to put these, even footage of these video games online, and if you did, you weren't allowed to monetize it.
Yes.
And this was like the boom of like Modern Warfare kill montages and stuff, right?
Yes, MW. And kind of yes, that's just good childhood.
More memories, exactly.
More memories, yes.
So these MCNs start popping up. Some of them, there's one very infamous one, which I won't name.
We won't name names.
Most people who were around at that time will have been familiar with them.
I follow,
And they would sign gaming creators, promising them that they could monetize their content, which you couldn't do just via YouTube by default. But this agency would be like, well, we can control the ads that go on your content and we can get you some money for it. But a lot of these creators were young people in their bedrooms who had amassed a following, didn't know what they were doing.
That's it.
And the one thing that stands out is this MCN in particular would often offer up contracts with the word perpetual in it.
Perpetual. And
so forever.
So perpetual.
Yeah, so they were like, we will have the rights to your content for it. You will be in this contract forever. People had to sue them just to get out of their contracts.
Yes, kind of that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And because it's 14, 15, 16-year-olds making gaming montages in the bedroom, like, they're not lawyers. They can't afford lawyers to look through the contract.
No.
So it's really predatory. So there's a sour taste in my mouth from that. And don't get me wrong, there were some MCNs that came along that weren't so bad.
Yes.
But there were a lot that just weren't great, would end up like, I don't know, just getting into hot water for not paying their creators or promising the world and then not delivering on it. And those MCNs sort of came and went on YouTube. They're not really, there's a little bit of it, not really a thing anymore. But that business side of it evolved into what is now agencies managing creators.
It kind of, the evolution of it. So
that's not to say that as they are now, they are as bad as they were then, because they're absolutely not. And there is value in them sometimes.
Yes.
But I question whether the value is always there.
Yeah.
I question whether what they say they can bring is what they do bring.
Yes.
And I think people need to think carefully about the agreements they get into and whether oftentimes they'll take 15 to 20% and whether they're bringing that much value.
I see that must be quite a thing. If you're someone like making videos or something, and then all of a sudden you get an agency, you think, I've made it. I've earned it. But actually, there might maybe not predatory. Predatory could be the kind of the correct word, although it's quite a strong word.
It certainly was. I'm not with an agency now, and I haven't been ever actually.
Okay.
I have lots of friends who are with agencies, and some of them seem to really like them, and some of them don't. Some of them have terrible times with them. Some of them have great times.
Yes.
So I wouldn't like to speak to the fact that they're predatory now, but they certainly were. Like locking a teenager into a perpetual contract. Tell me a better word than predatory.
That's a little unfair. With that. And would you kind of have any advice or kind of knowing the industry, or would just based on your own experience? It's not gospel, and of course everyone must kind of check their own.
Yeah.
Do the due diligence.
Yeah. Say that 5 times.
That's a tongue twister. It's like red lorry, yellow lolly, or however all of that goes. But kind of based on your experience, would you kind of have any advice or recommendations, like a new creator or someone's just sort of entering the industry? Would you kind of have any like top tips? Or?
Yeah, I think so. So there's a lot to weigh up. So like when I said to you before about agencies tend to take 15 to 20%.
Yep.
Understanding whether, because often they'll handle your negotiations for you. So if they're going to get you, if a brand is going to come directly to you and you think you're going to charge, say, £1,000 just to make the maths easy, but you think an agency might be able to negotiate you to like 1,500, it's a 50% increase. So losing 20% of that is not a big deal.
You're making money.
Exactly.
Yes.
So assessing the value there, because if actually the brand will be coming to you anyway and they're getting you the fee you would ask for yourself, you're losing 20% for not a whole lot.
Yes.
So that's the other thing, is making sure that an agency will be doing, or management or whatever, will be doing outbound for you, because I get quite a few brands coming to me directly for my content.
Yes.
I would want an agency in exchange for 20% to be getting me extra work than I'd be getting otherwise.
Kind of make it a profit. Yeah,
exactly.
I'll say profitable. Yeah, make it worthwhile.
Scale it for me, essentially. Yeah.
Yes.
So there's that. I would say non-exclusivity is a big thing.
Okay.
Not all agencies will offer it, so you got to make sure they're worth their weight in gold if they're telling you to be exclusive with them, because if they're non-exclusive and they're going to get you some opportunities, and then another non-exclusive agency is also going to get you some opportunities, and that's like, you don't want to pigeonhole yourself in one corner, do you know what I mean?
And if you sort of maybe thinking long-term, if everything all kind of falls apart or something happens...
Yeah.
You might go from, crikey, I know some creators and they're almost, the money, it can be quite serious. You're talking,
it can be really serious,
£50,000 to £100,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
If all of that's just through one channel and that disappears,
yeah.
that's quite a gap to fill from zero to £100,000.
Exactly.
So kind of maybe that kind of non-exclusivity or kind of having some control over your social media. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, non-exclusivity, I'd say, particularly if you're like young or new to the scene, I think these are like business savvy people seeing what help they can give you in terms of the finance and the tax and stuff. Like, even if they can just point you towards sister accountants or whatever, like that they pair up with something, do you know what I mean, to help you with those murky waters.
Yes.
Gosh, and a cooling off period I think is really important in any contract. Making sure you have like 2 or 3 month cooling off period. Just so you can be like, this really isn't working for me. I don't like the brands they're pushing for me. I don't like the way they're treating me or other creators. Like, just a cool, so you can get out of it if you need to.
Yes.
And that is from somebody who's never been with an agency. So take that with a huge pinch of salt, not financial advice.
Not financial advice, but no, I like it. I think kind of with the social media world, I am aware of kind of quite a lot of agencies or a couple of agencies kind of reaching out to people, and people are like, oh my, I think a lot of, with social media, a lot of people see someone's journey and they're like, I can do that too. And they try so hard to sort of kind of just create content in order to become an internet influencer.
Yeah.
And probably somewhere along that journey, an agency or a brand or an agency would reach out and they think, I've worked so hard. They've reached out to me. They've promised me everything. But then in reality, they don't.
That's it. You get a lot of them sort of promising to help you grow your account and stuff. And I just think you're the expert at that. You've got yourself to the point where you've got a platform enough for them to want to reach out to you.
Yes.
It's very unlikely that they'll be able to assist you with that. So don't think that's smoke and mirrors, and see it for what it is. The other biggest piece of advice that I should have said is, if an agency tells you have to pay a fee to be with them, huge red flag.
Okay.
They should get you money and take a percentage, not take money from your bank before anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works, and that's probably a scam. So not always. I'm sure that there might be some, but absolutely red flag as far as I'm concerned is being asked for money up front for an agency.
It's okay. Yes, I think that's quite a good way kind of to wrap everything up. It's sort of kind of be kind of mindful or cautious if an agency kind of comes out, and in terms of kind of creating content, I take it you'd just say kind of create stuff that your passion. If you want to create content, just kind of do it around your passion.
Exactly. I've seen creators with hundreds of thousands of followers who just solve algebra equations online because they're good at it. They've done it enough that they're sort of experts and they've cultivated an audience. So if you love something, like, you can definitely make content around it and grow from it, because other people who love it will find you.
I love that. Okay. Yes. Fantastic. Okay. So sort of just stay in your lane, stay in your lane, or just try your best and just kind of follow.
Do what you love. Yeah, exactly.
Do what you love. I think that's a great message to finish on.
Thank you.
Do what you love. And thank you very much. Well, how do I finish up? Do what you love. And I think on that note, thank you very much for coming on, Brett.
Of course. I hope you love this, because I've adored being here.
I really valued, and I think that's where I originally got you on, is you've kind of lived many lives. You've created content. You've been in the agency. You've done social media, and now it's like come full circle. So I'm just fascinated to kind of watch your journey and see how you kind of progress over the next years, lifetimes. Who knows? I'm just wait with anticipation.
Well, hopefully I'll come back and I'll tell you how I've progressed since then.
Of course. I cannot wait for
forcing myself back on the guest list. Thank you for having me, man.
No worries. Thank you for coming on, Brett.